Hi and welcome to this reading. This reading is a collective reading. I am picking up on the energy of an out of balance emperor. Now, this reading is going to be housed within the collective of readings that I am titling The Wheel Within a Wheel. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I'm an intuitive tarot reader. I pick up on energy prior to a reading. I then come and use my tarot and oracle decks to further clarify the messages that I have been receiving. All of my readings are timeless. Whenever you stumble across this reading, you are meant to find it. Part of the spiritual journey that you are on, collecting pieces for your soul puzzle. So maybe there's something in this reading that will tweak a bit of going further down the rabbit hole for you. As a tarot reader, my aim is to help you unearth hidden fragments of the soul journey that you are on, help you discover them, and maybe you do that purely through watching me. Excuse me, my voice is just closed up. By watching me, by watching somebody else, and how they tap into the intuitive messages that they are receiving. So all of the decks that I use on my channel are my own designs because I'm also an illustrator. So if you call to any of those, the links to them will be found in the description box. Any songs, movies, TV series that I mention, they will also be found in the description box, because if you are intuitively called to click on that link, or to watch the movie, or to watch the TV series, or to watch the music video, there's a message within it for you, a hidden message lying dormant, just waiting for you to stumble across it. So as I said, these readings will be housed in a bigger playlist, which is called A Wheel Within a Wheel. Part of the spiritual journey that I have been on, I have been unearthing the larger symbolism around this massive big wheel that we are on collectively, and the wheels within the wheels. Now, for me, there is a 777 and a 77 reference within all of the things that are at play. And it starts with the beginning of the wheel, and it obviously ends with the end of the wheel, but it's a circle. So it's this big revolution that just keeps on going and going and going, and particularly prevalent at the moment because we are in the Pluto and Aquarius transit, which is a 20-year transit, and Pluto and Aquarius is revolutionary change. It is when the people, and I've got that song ringing in my ear, I'm going to stand up, take my people with me. It's when the people buck the system and pull down, or God pulls down because the opposite of Aquarius on the wheel is Leo, and pulls down the people that are in their ego, the people that are doing things for their own benefit, as opposed to Aquarius, which is humanity, the people that are doing things for humanity. So these are the cards that came out in the pre-shuffle. I got the Knight of Pentacles, which is Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn is your karmic teacher. It's a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. And your teacher, I mean, in this card, we've got somebody who's older and somebody who's younger, which could represent, within a classroom, within a workplace, within a family dynamic, within a country dynamic, somebody who holds some sort of power and wielding it, karmically wielding it to teach a student. Saturn in Capricorn. Then we have milkshake. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. This is damn right, it's better than yours. I can teach you, karmic teacher, but I have to charge. Somebody who is in unbalanced emperor energy is somebody who is doing things for their own ego. Now, when we look at the emperor in the cards within the tarot decks, the emperor is divine masculine, not gender specific. It can be masculine. You can be male or female. But the emperor takes charge. But somebody who is an unbalanced emperor, and what do I mean by an unbalanced emperor? That's somebody that hasn't The Emperor is a balance between wisdom and action. And a wise emperor makes a decision to move forward by looking at the effects that it has on everybody, or the effects that he, again, not gender specific, has on everybody around. An unbalanced emperor will do things purely for their own ego. And then we've got the Judgment card. Now, Judgment, because we've got Saturn in Capricorn here, which is the World card, which is how the world spins, the cycles of life, how the world spins. The Judgment card is number 20 in the tarot. It comes before the World card. So in order to get karmic completion, you had to have learned the lessons in a manner in which the decisions that you make are not ego-driven. And that's when the world spins and you get a new beginning. If you look at two fish here, now this came through in a reading the other day. If you look at these two fish is actually the symbol of Pisces. Now Pisces is two fish tied by a thread. The constellation of Pisces is actually, it's drawn like it looks like a 7 or a V, a sideways V in the sky. But it's these two fish and they have to be in balance. It's the battle of good and evil. It's the battle of ego and soul. Damn right, it's better than yours. That's soul. Somebody in their ego. So I'm going to pop these cards up here. The Judgment card. We've got the Knight of Pentacles, which, as I said, is Saturn in Capricorn. And then we've got Milkshake. Now, honestly, I couldn't sleep last night. I had so many messages coming through. Now, if you've been to my readings before, you will know that I will give all of the messages that I get first, and then I will use my tarot and oracle decks to clarify the messages. As I said, this reading will be housed in a bigger reading that is part of this collective wheel within a wheel. But I want to show you, and I drew it because sometimes I think when I explain it, it gets too confusing. So currently the wheel within the wheel, (911). 9 times 11 is 99. We are in the year of 9. 2025 adds up to a 9. It is endings and beginnings. There's a wheel that we're sitting in at the moment, collectively a wheel that we're sitting in. It started in 1948 after World War II. And it runs all the way through to 2025, which is this year. It's 77 years long. It aligns with the biblical story of Jacob. So it's 77 after going through all of his troubles. Jacob had a dream about a stairway to heaven. He met Rachel, but was tricked. Tricked at 77. He met Rachel and was tricked. Had to work another 7 years in order to marry her at 84. And from a biblical perspective, that's when the tribes of Israel were born. Their children, and his children with her sister, because he was married to two different people, their children became the tribes of Israel. So an ending, a death and a rebirth. We've got a birth here. We're currently in the Pluto and Aquarius transit. It's 248 years long. Pluto is Scorpio, which is death and rebirth. 1948 to 2025 is 77-year cycle. Now, in 1948, the decisions that were made in 1948 were made by people in a 20-year period where Pluto was in Leo. Leo is the kings. Leo is somebody in their ego. Now, that's not in somebody who has heavy Leo in their chart doesn't necessarily mean that they are ego-driven. But in the context of the kings, The people that, the kings that rule the people, because Leo is opposite to Aquarius on the wheel. We're currently in a Pluto and Aquarius transit. The decisions that the kings of the time, the top of society at the time, are made are still affecting us 77 years later. And there's a big change coming, because on the 7th of the 7th, 2025, which is 2 times 7, which is 77 years, Uranus, which is the planet of sudden shocking events, goes into Gemini. Uranus is the Fool card. Uranus is the beginning, the starting back at 1. The karmic lessons that you learn. Number 21 is the World card, flicks over to the Fool card, which is number 1. But we've got Gemini here, 2 wolves. Because when I think of Gemini, I think of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now Uranus will be in Gemini for 7 or 8 years, I think it is, maybe 7 years. Again, that's 7 reference. But Gemini is, as I said, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's a battle between Leo energies, which is the people in power, against the people, 2025. Now, the last time this happened, we saw the French Revolution. So we saw the people rise up against the French monarchy. They essentially took them down. Hand in hand with divine intervention, because a big volcano in Iceland called Laki, which actually means luck, 777, a big volcano in Iceland actually came in, exploded, and spread a blanket of ash across the whole of Europe for 8 months. And so the people literally had nothing. They had no food, no nothing. And so they rose up against the monarchy. And that was the first democracy in Europe. It was this big revolutionary change. And then all of these other countries followed. This huge big change. A beginning and an end. Or an end and a beginning. So the messages that were coming through last night, I kept hearing King Saul. King Saul was the first king of Israel, known as the first apostle. If you've been here before, you will know that I have started using biblical gematria, which is a way of tying a word with a number, because all words have a numerical value. So when you put a word into the gematria calculator, and it is found in the description box, so it's a tool that you can use as well. If you put a word in there, it'll come up with a number. Now, I've been specifically using, because a lot of the references, a lot of the channel messages that I've been getting have been about stories from the Old Testament. Not a religious reading, but what I have found in my research is that cycles within cycles within cycles, so bigger cycles, Adam and Eve, align within smaller cycles, align within smaller cycles. And for us spiritually to be able to stand back and actually see the wheels within the wheels within the wheels turning gives us spiritual insight. So the gematria for King Saul is 377. And what the gematria calculator does is it brings up other words that have that alphanumeric value, the same as 377. So I got September, the last dance, the beginning of the end, and Rosh Hashanah. Now, Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. It's a day of judgment where God reviews your actions and determines your fate. Determines whether the World card, the last card in the tarot, determines whether you get a new beginning. One of the symbols of Rosh Hashanah is the pomegranate, which aligns with the number 613, 613 commandments in the Old Testament. And the other thing I use is a tool called Strong. So basically you can put that number 377, which aligns with King Saul, you can put it into Strong's, which is basically an index of all the words as they appear chronologically in the Bible, the Old and the New Testament. And when you put that number in, it'll bring up a word or a Bible verse that actually aligns with it. So King Saul actually aligns with Ish, which is showing oneself as a man, head of household, provider, protector, authority, leadership, and community. Well, that's what his job was, really. 377. But unfortunately, because I'm watching House of David at the moment, I've only watched the first episode. It's on Amazon. Essentially, he was given the role of being the first king of Israel, but he was unbalanced, and so it was stripped from him. Ironically, it was stripped from him in 1010 BC. 1010. 10's a completion. 1010. Next year, because this year is the 999 portal, next year is the 1010 portal. 2026. The other thing that I was hearing was, and it's a Turkish proverb, when a clown moves into the palace, he doesn't become a king. The palace becomes a circus. So you can be coming to this reading just for the general information that's within it, but you could be sitting here and going, actually, you know what? I know somebody who kind of fits the bill of this King Saul energy. And I go back to that, the phonetically, how a word sounds as opposed to how it's spelt. Soul, King Saul, reminds me of the word soul, a soul journey. And when you're looking at things on your spiritual journey, yes, okay, the spelling of things is great, but you've got to use your intuition. And the reason that I say that is because when I went looking at all the different words that lined up with, King Saul 377, it said Rosh Hashanah, but it was spelt the wrong way. But I was just flipping through and I read it and I knew exactly what it meant. The spelling doesn't have to be perfect. It's what you are intuitively picking up on. And there's, again, hidden meanings within meanings. So the song that I was hearing all night was Wake Me Up When September Ends. Now, 377, King Saul, one of the words was September. Wake me up when September ends. I got drops of Jupiter when I did a random shuffle prior to this reading. Now, the imagery for drops of Jupiter, now Jupiter is 777. It's the wheel of fortune, this wheel turning. But Jupiter is 777. Again, this 77-year cycle. And the imagery on the album cover, when you put it in Spotify for Drops of Jupiter, it's by Train. So it's a journey, a soul journey. Again, all these different ways of pulling in spiritual messages. And they've been given to you all the time. You just got to open your spiritual eyes. Train. But the imagery is of this little boy, and he's got like a paper crown on. And when you think about, and as I said, in the first episode of this House of David, now I didn't really know much. It's essentially of the story of David and how he rose to become king. But he was the shepherd, and then he became literally King David. But the crown was stripped from King Saul because of his actions, because he was essentially disobedient, because he was in unbalanced emperor energy. The crown was stripped from him, and under him rose this young boy, which was the imagery on Drops of Jupiter, the imagery on the album cover. Let me see if I can find it. This little boy, the boy who became king, a soul journey, a golden crown, and look, there's a little piece, a white dove, peace. I was getting the constantly the messages of the beginning and the end. Now that came in that gematria code, the beginning of the end. What we are currently sitting in right at the moment within this 77-year cycle, or 84 years, because that's the larger cycle. So we're sitting within we're sitting at the 77-year mark of an 84-year cycle. And we are at the beginning of the end. As I said, this year, number 9, is endings and beginnings. Now, ironically, and I don't really know where Pluto was back at the time when King Sol's reign ended. I could probably go back and check it, but probably take a while. So his reign ended in 1010 BC. Presumably, I would imagine, maybe Pluto was in Leo. Like Pluto was in Leo 77 years ago. Because King Sol ended his reign by taking his own life. And if you think about the person that instigated all of the stuff that's happened in the past 77 years since World War II, and I'm talking about our friend with the moustache, he also took his life. An unbalanced soul. The other thing that was coming through, and it's been coming through very, very frequently, is the symbolism of the pomegranate. Now, the pomegranate in many of the religious cultures around the world is the symbol of death and rebirth, because it has 613 seeds, which is the commandments, obviously, that King Sol was meant to obey. It has 613 seeds, but a seed symbolizes birth because you bury it and then it grows. So death and rebirth, and also within lots of cultures, it's this cycle of life symbolism. Revelation 6:13, which is something that I was drawn to, says, "And the stars of the heaven fell to the earth like fig trees drop its late figs." Fig trees are the symbol of peace. 613 also aligns with the year that 613 AD is the year that Prophet Muhammad actually publicly brought Islam to the world. And figs have 2 harvest seasons. One is in early spring, which is now, and the other harvest is at Rosh Hashanah, which is what that number 377 aligned with, Rosh Hashanah, which is the day of judgment where God reviews the actions and determines people's fate. Judgment. What lessons have you learned? So there's an energy around. On a global scale, I can think of many. On a smaller scale, an energy that is around you, that is sitting in this unbalanced Emperor energy. And I'm going to pull some cards on it. I do have a little bit more, but I'm just going to get some cards first. An overall energy. The Hermit. The Hermit is a soul awakening. This is you. This is you. This is the collective. Recognizing the bigger wheel within the wheel. 8 of Swords. And untying yourself. Now, the 8 of Swords is Jupiter in Gemini, which is a current placement at the moment. Jupiter's been in Gemini since June 2025, and it will step out of Gemini and go into Jupiter in Cancer. This card comes out nearly every reading. We'll go into Jupiter in Cancer June 5th this year. And then it will go into Jupiter in Cancer. Cancer is the Chariot card, which is number 7 in the tarot, but it's movement forward. Let's just... whoever this individually, collectively, we're currently stuck. It's almost like we're at the top of the roller coaster and we're just sitting there waiting for it to go down. Let's get the collective energy. Oh, 6 of Pentacles. Now that was turned up the wrong way. The 6 of Pentacles, which is the Moon in Taurus. The hidden outcome. And that's actually perfect because an unbalanced emperor. So in the Six of Pentacles card, it's basically God and he's handing equally to two. Except what's happening here is one person's taking more out of ego for themselves. So if you think of that Leo, Aquarius, somebody in Leo energy is taking, and the Aquarius, the people, the human side of things, the people that have empathy for everybody around them, they're actually being taken from. Marie Antoinette in the palace eating cake whilst her people are starving. There's an imbalance. Now, I was having a conversation with my husband this morning about this wolf. And it's not a prophecy, this story of the two wolves. And it's a Native American, I don't know what the appropriate terminology is, and I don't want to offend the First Nations people of America, the Indigenous people of America. There is a story where a grandmother is talking to her child, and she's talking about there being two wolves. And I've said it before, it comes through quite frequently. Two wolves, a good wolf and a bad wolf. And they're battling, the battle between good and evil. And they're battling. And the little girl says, which one wins? And the grandmother says, the one that you feed. And so at the moment, we're seeing these energies of people who are being fed by people around them, imbalanced people around them, fueling these wolves. But people are starting to wake up. And all of a sudden, they'll start to take the food away from the wolf. And that's where you get this big change. A restoration of balance. But I was talking to my husband today about, he was telling me about the wolf from Pulp Fiction. Now, I don't particularly like those movies. I watched them many, many years ago, but kind of really didn't resonate with me. Maybe I need to go back and watch it. Maybe there's a message in it for you. But the wolf from Pulp Fiction is a professional problem solver, because I basically came home and did a bit of research. He wears sharp suits. He has razor sharp wit, unstoppable demeanor. He is the masterclass in crisis management, but it's two sides of the one coin, because I then looked up what the flaws of the wolf from Pulp Fiction were. Impatience and directness. Somebody who wants immediate solutions. I can think of somebody in government at the moment. Somebody who wants immediate solutions. Insensitivity. Whilst they are efficient, they lack regard for those affected by the problems that they are trying to solve. They lack empathy. They prioritize tasks over feelings of those impacted by their actions. They are forceful, demanding, dominant, not considering of other perspectives. And there's a contradiction, because they come in and they say, I solve problems, but they fail to solve them in a way that's satisfactory to the people involved. And why is that? Because they're doing everything from their ego. So you might be dealing with somebody in your life that is this way. This is King Soul energy, and it is the energy of many, many, many people in power at the moment. Two sides of a coin. Which one do you feed? Because these people, whoever they are, on a direct level with you, or on a governmental level, on a community level, all the way up, right? As a collective of people, and purely as well at the moment, because the North Node is in Pisces, which is a spiritual journey. It's basically going deeper, having a look underneath the surface at what's actually going on within the wheel, within the wheel, within the wheel, within the wheel, getting a broader perspective, looking at things with spiritual eyes. Two sides of a coin. This wolf, and I just heard wolf in sheep's clothing, this wolf that's literally in front of you, directly in front of you, but in front of us collectively. And which one are we going to continue to feed? And if, like in the French Revolution, people start to take a stand, and you can see it, they are, even within the countries within where these larger wolves are running the pack, people are starting to take a stand. Drops of Jupiter, 777. The old wolf is being pulled down for the new wolf, the boy king, to step into power. Now, the other song that I got, which was just beautiful, was Father and Son. Now, that's Yusuf, or Cat Stevens. He went on a spiritual journey. Cat Stevens converted to Islam. I'm not sure how old he was when he did. Which is why when you see any of his songs now, it's Yusuf and Cat Stevens. He converted to Islam. He had this huge spiritual awakening, a life and death moment where he almost drowned off the coast of America, and then literally came back into shore and started to see life through a different set of spiritual eyes. The song was Father and Son. This is a card of father and daughter. A breaking away from, it's real Hierophant energy, a breaking away from the structures of following the wolf that you meant to follow because you meant to follow it, because that's how it was always done. But the wheel is turning. And the irony is here in the context of that House of David. Now, as I said, I've only watched one episode, but the irony is that the first episode brings in that the themes of the David and Goliath battle. And my understanding is it's David that took down Goliath. Now, Goliath was a Philistine. So it's almost like the flip. We're about to go into this big flip. The other thing that I was drawn to, I did a reading many months ago because I was getting the symbolism around the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. And I can't remember what song it is now, but it was coming through. He was the first president of the United States, and he became president when Pluto was in Taurus. This is the moon in Taurus. When Pluto was in Taurus, he was assassinated in 1865. There's been two 77-year cycles up until when the current president of America left office the last time. This beginning and the end. It's divine balance. And we all have a part to play in it. What's happening in the 3D for us? Competition. That's battles. And I want to say battle weary. Everyone's battle weary. But it's collective change that turns the wheel. That's what I just heard. It's collective change that turns the wheel. And it's a stepping back from what's happening individually and maybe looking at things with spiritual eyes and recognizing that a revolution, Pluto and Aquarius, a revolution, the French Revolution came about because all of the people came together. A huge big spiritual army. What is that one I open on? The devil, to take out the devil. A huge big spiritual army to take out the devil. The Five of Cups is what's happening in the soul. 5 is change. And what I was thinking about when I was shuffling that card, a huge big spiritual army to take out the devil. I just said the pen is mightier than the sword. David was tiny in his battle with Goliath, but David was also tiny because in comparison to Saul, who was the king at the time. And Saul became very, very jealous of him. Which is interesting to think about it because, you know, somebody who's king being jealous of literally a shepherd. But the power is within the little people. The power, this Pluto and Revolution, Pluto and Aquarius transit lies. The power lies within the people. If you've got something happening in your workplace, these king soul energies would seek to keep people, or even within families, keep people from coming together. And it was popping into my head just before I started this reading, but I remember listening to, I can't remember his name. It was one of the, I can't remember. In the States, it was one of the spokespeople. And he was being interviewed and they were saying, you know, how surprised are you by all of the protests on campuses and stuff like that? And what he actually said was he was surprised by the speed at which they were organised. Now, this is somebody who's probably in his 50s or 60s, kind of uses the internet in terms of the context of his work. Maybe he's on Facebook, but literally is dealing with the digital age of people from Generation Z, which is 2010 back to 1995. Generation Z is the end. This is a group of people who are online savvy. They live in the online world and they're part of bigger communities they're part of bigger armies that are connected and connected fast. And you don't have to be connected with somebody who literally lives in your neighborhood. You can be part of an online group, an online forum that's connected right the way around the world. And that's what these king soul energies are battling. And it's taken them off guard. Because it's changed. 2 5's a change. Interesting, right? This is the message for the man upstairs about these king soul energies. Page of Pentacles can sometimes be seen as a gift, but it's a gift within a lesson. They are meant to be part of a collective awakening. The gift is, by viewing how these people act, you get your spiritual eyes ripped wide open. You form connections with other people who are like, hey, that's not okay. Somebody's operating in unbalanced Emperor energy and they have no empathy for how their actions are affecting me. They don't care about my feelings. They're not considering any perspectives of anybody else around them except their own. And even though they think they're solving the problem, it's not solving the problem in a way that's satisfactory to the people that are involved. We're not going to feed that wolf anymore. The Gematria 377 of King Soul, September. Wake me up when September ends. The last dance, the beginning of the end, Rosh Hashanah, the day of judgment, where God reviews your actions and determines your fate. And in Strong's 377 is a show of oneself as a man. When a clown moves into the palace, he doesn't become a king. The palace becomes a circus. And it's mutiny. I'd say all the animals are revolting. As in, it's revolting. Not revolting as in... the animals in the circus are starting a revolt, which is part of that base word revolution, right? Not my monkeys, not my circus. Okay. Hangman. Light bulbs come on. Collectively, the light bulbs come on. You think of the ringmaster in a circus, right? Out there, looking great, prancing around with his long tails and his top hat. Imagine what he'd be like if all the animals that he had caged, where do we have that? Where do we have that? If all of the animals that he had caged decided, I think it was on the bottom of this deck, in the middle of the night, to have somebody come in, the monkeys came in and unlocked all the cages. So here's the ringmaster standing there going, yeah, this is my circus. You know, I can do what I want. I can treat everybody poorly. And then all of a sudden he realizes that all the locks have been taken off the animals' cages. He would literally hightail it out of there because he's only powerful when he's got his foot on the throat of everybody he's trying to overpower. Interesting. Wow. This is the outcome. That's a spiritual awakening. And the Emperor. The people are taking, because somebody who is in balanced Emperor energy is somebody who's gone through a spiritual awakening. A spiritual awakening is where you get spiritual wisdom in a situation and you can take charge, you can move forward based on the spiritual knowledge that you have. Now, this came through in a reading the other day. If you look at two emperors, if we look at Moses and the Pharaoh, right, who was chasing him through the Red Sea. Moses had gone through a spiritual awakening. He had a connection, a spiritual connection with God. He was being tasked by God to take action in a certain way from a spiritual sense, right? He was an emperor. He had a balance between action and spirituality, action and wisdom. And so the sea parted and he made his way through. He set his people free. You could apply that same measure to David, who became king. Following his spiritual intuition, doing what God told him to do, and he became king. That's the good wolf. The bad wolf, King Saul, Pharaoh. Pharaoh was actually driving the chariot. And as I said, a balanced emperor needs to drive the chariot. But Pharaoh was chasing them through Egypt to the water because his slaves had been taken. He wanted them back. He was chasing them out of ego. And what happened as he went through the water came over and they all lost their lives. But Moses and the people made it through. King Saul, through his actions and the imbalance, actually took his own life. Whatever decisions that you make in a situation where you are dealing with an unbalanced emperor, if you make those decisions from a spiritual perspective, from a spiritual lens, from a balanced lens, where you are not just charging forward without considering the effect of other people. Pluto in Aquarius is about humanity. It's about what's good for everybody. How do my actions actually serve the greater community? And maybe you are, actually that was one of the readings I did a couple of days ago. Maybe you are in Moses energy where you are being called to lead, to take action. Potentially because you're further along the spiritual journey than other people around you. Okay, let's get some cards. Let's have a look at this imbalance here. An imbalance. It's a juggle. And I would say you're left holding the water. King of Pentacles is somebody who puts their ego first. They're sitting there with everything. What's on the bottom? Temperance, which is balance. They're sitting there. They're the dark, the evil. They're sitting there. Look at him. Oh, it's that song. A king was in his counting house, counting out his money. You're doing all the heavy lifting, the back-breaking work. Somebody is being sacrificed for this person's glory, and things are about to change. This is rising up. I'm going to stand up, take my people with me. This is what's happening in the 3D. People are waking up. Hierophant. People are waking up to the structures around them that are keeping them bound. The Hierophant is about the way you are brought up. The Hierophant is about bucking the system and saying just because you are the leader, you are the head of the wolf pack, doesn't mean that what you're saying aligns with what is right and wrong. The beginning of the end, the day of judgment. Judgment. This is the people. Whoever it is, you know, if it's somebody in your family, somebody within your work, somebody within your community. God, it could be a teacher at school who's literally treating kids poorly. And your kid is one of them. Somebody in government. There's a standing up going on here. There's a actually no, this is not happening anymore. And that takes courage to stand up against what, because we are all as souls are born into a specific, we incarnate into a specific family, into a specific country, into a specific religion, into a specific set of moral codes that come down from our family, the way a country runs, all of it. And whatever's happening here, it's not working. And people are taking action. 7 of Cups. Can you hear? That's multiple. That's police and ambulance. I just heard the catastrophe. Now, I know in many other countries, 911 is the emergency services call. Everybody come together. But in Australia, it's 000. 000 is the full card. 0 is the beginning. 7 of Cups is about people having choices. I've got a choice now. Now that I've seen things with a spiritual lens, I've got a choice to actually make a change. The 5 of Cups, what's happening in the soul? Well, where did that card go? There we are. Queen of Wands. In that deck, she makes a decision to walk away from everything that she knows. A bit like our father and son. Cat Stevens walked away from a religion, father and son. Maybe you're actually turning around to a parent and saying, actually, you know what? You're not in control of my actions anymore. I'm making my own decisions. 2 of Swords is the moon in Libra. Libra is about balance, but the 2 of Swords is in some ways it's recognizing a hidden imbalance, because the 2 of Swords hides things. A hidden imbalance in your life. But it's also you reveal. You're revealing, because the next card from this is the heartbreak card. It's a 3 of Swords. You're revealing the heartbreak that has come from not actually standing up to somebody who's in imbalanced Emperor energy. The 5 of Cups here. And you're saying, actually, you know what? No more. Page of Pentacles. We've got Justice on the bottom. Page of Pentacles. This is a message from the man upstairs. The 6 of Pentacles. We get balance. We get balance in the message from the man upstairs, and it's sitting under the 6 of Pentacles. I want to see what the third card now is. The message from the man upstairs. You get balance because you get, look at the world on the bottom. You get karmic completion because you learn. You start to see things with spiritual eyes. The 4 of Wands. You get a new journey. The 4 of Wands, actually, that's currently a placement at the moment. Venus in Aries. The 4 of Wands is the marriage card. It's the things that you've been bound to. And a recognition that you don't need to be bound to them anymore, because you've seen the truth. You've seen the bigger cycle within the cycle. You've seen how these Emperor energies have actually ruled the roost. The Lovers. And we did have that before. Please excuse my stomach. As I said, I'm fasting. The Lovers is, it used to be called the Choice card. The 8 of Swords, which is the card that I went looking for before. The 8 of Swords is Jupiter and Gemini, current placement at the moment, where you're all tied up. But the way to unbind yourself is to go through this spiritual awakening and recognize that this person, this unbalanced Emperor in your life, is just a player It's just a wolf. And if you don't feed it, then it no longer exists. But you've got a choice. Which wolf do you feed? Because if you are spiritually rich and sound, oh, look at that, divine timing. If you are spiritually rich and sound, then these two fish swim in beautiful unison. It's the yin and yang. It's meant to be balanced. Collectively, we get balance when people go through a soul awakening and recognize that they have been feeding the wolf. Six of Wands, victory after a long battle. This is lovely, this reading. Let's get you some advice. Higher power. Being guided by a higher power. A higher power. A higher power. What does that mean? A higher power. Possibly a message in a powder. Baby powder. Powder that you put on your face. Higher powder. There's honestly messages within so many things. Your guides, they can't do the work for you, but they can give you little hints. It's a bit like Pictionary, where you draw a picture, or charades. Actually, let's do charades. A higher power is playing charades with you, trying to give you messages. I just heard Morse code. Trying to give you messages, but they can't directly give it to you. And so it sits hidden within these big karmic cycles, these big 77, 777 cycles that I'm kind of pulling through. And my eye keeps being drawn to these tiny little, they're weeds in my garden, in the garden bed outside where I'm doing this reading. They're little yellow, they're tiny little yellow flowers. I don't know what they're called. There might be a message in that for somebody, but your guides are trying to give you messages. They're coming through, like for me, that first episode of House of David, I was like, whoa, so many downloads. Messages on sides of buses, messages in songs, messages in album covers, messages in, if you're walking through a room and you just hear part of a conversation that somebody's having, you are meant to hear that. If somebody's humming a song, ask them what they're humming, because you're meant to find out what it is. So there's a message within that. Different ways that your guides, your ancestors try and talk to you. Even like I've just started using Gematria and Strong's, hidden messages. So many readings have come out of that because it's like peeling back an onion. This spiritual awakening that you are on, you are being given messages. Even, and it reminds me, way back in the beginning of my spiritual journey, when I recognized that there were hidden messages within things, I saw a video and it popped up maybe 6, 7, 8 times in different formats. So on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, this same video of this same guy. Now he was captured, and he was an American soldier who was captured in some war somewhere, and he was being held as a hostage. And the people that were holding him were trying to make out that he was being treated well. And so they videoed him and they broadcast it, but they asked him a set amount of questions, and of course he had to answer them the way that they were meant to be answered. It was all set up. But what was actually happening as he was being filmed, being asked these questions and answering these questions, he was blinking heavily, and they kept stopping the interview saying, "Are you all right?" And he's saying, yes, my eyes are just sore. He was actually blinking, and you just Google it. He was actually blinking in Morse code to say, help, send help, get me out of here. Because obviously it was in stark contradiction to what was actually being presented. Higher power trying to communicate with you falling in love with your authentic self. You got to tap in. You got to tap in to get this message. Keep calm at this time. Playfulness and overthinking hidden in plain sight. What I would say here is your guides have actually got a sense of humor. My guides have got a sense of humor. Your guides will communicate with you through things that align with you, through things that you know and understand. So, for example, with me, these 7/7 references started coming through way back before, well, when I was born. My name, so this whole 7/7 is the story of Jacob and Rachel in the Bible. Worked for 7 years, he was tricked. And then he had to work for another 7 years in order to marry Rachel. My name, my maiden name, my first name is Rachel, but my maiden name was Jacob. So I always knew this 7/7 reference, but I hadn't put it into context until this year, really, this year and last year, put it into context with a bigger spiritual story, this bigger wheel within a wheel, within a wheel, within a wheel. There's things within your name. Go and have a look at your name. What does your name mean? What is the number of your name in Gematria? What does that align with? What is the actual meaning of your name? Your first name, your middle name, your surname. Layers and layers and layers, like an onion, layers and layers and layers of information. Overthinking, hidden in plain sight. It's all there. You just got to tap into it. The spiritual journey that you were on, finding out the hidden spiritual message, the hidden spiritual enlightenment that you need to move yourself away, even if it is mentally move yourself away from a karmic emperor energy communication in your life. The hidden spiritual messages. Spiritually rich and sound. And inner wisdom. Learning how to quickly see the imbalanced emperor energy, quickly see that wolf energy, and actually step back from it. Step back from it and step into, because the French Revolution was a group of people, step into a group of people who are actually seeing with spiritual eyes the same thing you are seeing. Okay, let's get a moon. That's my belly. Sorry. Mutable moon, where nothing is carved in stone. Okay, and that's what I'm saying to you. We are in this 77th year. The mutable moon is where the moon is moving from, astrologically, is moving from one sign to another. We're in this period of movement, this transitional phase. So it's maybe just leaving Capricorn, but it's not quite in Aquarius. It's almost midnight. It's the end of one day and also the start of another, but is it today or is it tomorrow? But it's the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of a new day and the end of an old. It's transition, and it comes through spiritual awakening. Let's go with this is my Nodes of Destiny deck. The North Node, that's interesting that that's come out. 2 North Nodes, wow, okay. So the North Node is where we are collectively. The North Node currently sits in Pisces, and it is our point of collective destiny. It is where we are meant to walk to the end of one thing, the beginning of another, where we are meant to walk to as a collective in order for this elevation of the soul, in order for this soul growth. Soul, King Soul. In order for this soul growth. So the North Node is in Pisces, which is spirituality, which is tapping in, going down to the depths. Tapping into the hidden messages within what's playing out on a small level within your life, but on a bigger, grander scale. And if you can step into that spiritual insight, it will allow you to step back out of this kind of charging in for yourself in unbalanced Emperor energy and potentially making decisions that don't keep you in alignment with your own North Node of destiny. Your North Node is like your cosmic compass pointing you towards your life's ultimate mission. It's a secret source that unlocks your true potential, guiding you to focus on the skills and ambitions that will lead you to your brightest future. The North Node in the 11th house. Now, everybody's node, their North Node actually sits, and it's this. It's like a horseshoe. And you will see it in your chart. The South Node is the other way around. Let's see if I can find one. Yeah. The South Node is the other way around. The South Node is stagnancy. It's staying somewhere too long. It's continuing to feed the wolf because it's easier. So the South Node currently is in Virgo, which is pulling the wool over your eyes. It's continuing to do things because it's more practical to do it this way, instead of recognizing that the spiritual growth lies in changing things up. North Node in the 11th house. If your North Node chose to throw a party in the 11th house, you might have been a bit of a look at me superstar in the past. Time to hit the reverse button and dazzle by sprinkling your talents around, waving goodbye to that self-absorbed aura. That is actually talking about somebody who is taking the journey on their own. What you actually need to do is tap in, like this Generation Z, tap into the collective energy of everybody else who is starting to see with spiritual eyes. And it might be that you've just started watching tarot readings. It might be that you join a group that's taking action against some sort of unbalanced Emperor energy within your workplace or within your community or within your government. But because Pluto is in Aquarius at the moment, Aquarius is the people. It's meant to be something that you do as a group. I mean, even Moses, now he walked out of there. He was the leader. He walked out of there. But he walked out of there with his brother alongside him, but with a group of people. North Node of Destiny and the 11th house. Okay, let's get... I'm not going to get one of those. I'm going to get you some Scrabble tiles. In here, letters and numbers could be your first, middle, last initial, that of this unbalanced Emperor energy around you. Take it as it take it as you see fit. I find when I fast, I get really thirsty, and so then I stumble over my words. That was Moses, actually. Moses had a stutter, and he banded with his brother because his brother was a great orator. His brother had a great speaking voice, and even though Moses was getting the messages from God, a lot of the time it was actually his brother that was speaking them. Banding together, you're not meant to do it alone. Okay, I'm going to give it a shake. Just make a little bit of noise. If you've got hearing sensitivity, just turn your volume down. I'm going to shake it in 3, 2, 1. Okay. We've got a J and an 8, a P and a 3, an L and a 1, an E and a 1, a D and a 2, a V and a 2, an A and a 1, a G and a 2, an R and a 1, and a Q, and a 10. Okay, I'm going to get you 3 final cards. Let me just see. Where did we have that? actually going to use this deck. I want to make sure I'm using a deck that sometimes when the cards have already come out, let's use this one. 3 final cards. Anything else your guides want to tell you about this situation? 2 of Cups, a soul journey that you're on. You've got a soul connection with whoever this unbalanced Emperor is in your life, and it's a soul connection. A soul connection is a contract that you have with a man upstairs in order to learn a specific set of spiritual lessons with this person, and part of it is they are the catalyst for a soul awakening that you are meant to have because of the interactions that you've had with them. But on the flip side, in making a decision not to feed that angry wolf, you actually then, through that soul awakening, set yourself on a pathway here. We've got 2 cups up, 3 down. 3 down is the unbalanced wolf, the unbalanced Emperor energy. You actually set yourself onto a path to align yourself with other people who are on the same spiritual journey that you are on. Other people that are going through a collective awakening just like you, and most likely, given that we are in this wheel within a wheel within a wheel, you could have been dealing with this person for 7 years, could have been dealing with this person for 7 months, 7 days. 77 years. 8 of Wands, communication. You actually put yourself into alignment with other people who are on the same spiritual journey that you are on, that have been dealing with the same unbalanced Emperor energy. And unbalanced Emperor energies are everywhere in the collective at the moment. It is a collective soul awakening, and we're moving away. We're moving away from it. That is the Sun in Aries. The Sun is illumination that comes from a spiritual awakening. Now the Sun, which is light, which is illumination, and Aries is Emperor energy. So you are moving forward. You are moving away from an unbalanced Emperor energy because you've gone through a spiritual awakening. The light bulbs come on, the epiphany. The light bulbs come on. You've had the epiphany that you were feeding the wrong wolf, and you can now stand in your Emperor energy under here. You can now stand in your Emperor energy, the choice card, the Ace of Cups, because you now have the spiritual insight. The Emperor is a balance of action and wisdom. You've now got the wisdom through your spiritual enlightenment to change your sails, I want to say, to head on a new journey. The Knight of Cups, that is, that's beautiful actually. That's the moon in Scorpio. As I said before, Scorpio is death and rebirth, but the moon is enlightenment. It's a new beginning. It's filling your own cup, pouring whatever you were feeding to somebody else, actually turning around and say, actually, you know what? I'm actually going to feed myself because you are the good wolf. And on the bottom, the sun. How beautiful. What a beautiful reading. That's where I'm going to leave it. I was just looking. That's where I'm going to leave it. You can pause the video, see if you can make any more out of those letters. If this reading resonated with you, please give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you are called to any of my tarot or oracle decks, the links to those can be found in the description box. Thanks again, and I will see you in another reading.